Welcome back to Reliving Retro. This is Season 2, Episode 10. We played Turok Dinosaur Hunter this week, and we have a very special guest on with us, so I'll allow him to introduce himself. Go ahead, man.
Hey, I'm Ryan from the List Off podcast. We are a gaming podcast where we rank different video games into different lists every week. Me and my co-host Brian, he's on a bit of a hiatus at the moment, having a second child. But
Congrats.
pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, exciting times. But yeah, we've been around for about 2 years. Somehow we have remained only in gaming and kept coming up with original lists every week.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. So if you like lists and you like video games, definitely check us out. We're available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Cool. What would you say some of your favorite lists that you've done so far?
Wow, this is a question. Brian's always quick to answer this question because he's always like, "Oh, the soundtrack episode's the one." That's what he really goes to. I would like to redo that one. There's a few soundtracks that I left off my list that I probably would include now. So I'll have to say I really like our top 10 gaming conspiracy theories episode.
Oh, those are fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to record too. And it was a lot of fun to do research for. And we just recorded one that is the worst gaming commercials. And that'll be coming out soon. And that got kind of it was funny, as you can imagine, right?
The PS3 baby one has to be up there, huh?
I'm not going to give anything away.
Yeah, it's gotta be. That thing is still in my nightmares. It's awful.
For sure.
It's so bad. All right, so we're gonna ask a couple getting to know you questions. What was your introduction to gaming? Maybe like what consoles did you first start playing? How did you get them? That kind of thing.
Yeah, at the risk of aging myself, my mom had an Apple IIe for her job. So it was probably the first thing I gamed on was an Apple IIe. And I remember playing Frogger in this game called Threshold. It was like an early Sierra game, kind of just to shoot them up. It was fun, though. I really enjoyed it. And then I had like an Atari 2600 and NES, and it just escalated from there and kind of never stopped playing since then.
That's awesome. Cool. What would you say your favorite types of games to play are, like your favorite genres?
I mean, like anybody else, it changes, right? So currently, I really enjoy single-player story-driven experiences like your God of Wars and your The Last of Us Part 2s and things of that nature. Not so much the open world ones. I did enjoy Horizon Forbidden West. Recently, I completed that and really had a good time with it. But, open worlds can get a little tiresome. So I do appreciate when it's like, just tell me where I need to go. Tell me an engaging story with good characters. And I'm happy with that at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem that I run into now with a lot less time to game is the more open world the game is like the less likely I'm going to play through it. I like a game where it's just like, okay, go and do this and then go and do that, because you don't have a whole lot of time anyway. So
that's just it. Like, give me an 8-hour game and I'm happy. I'm super happy with it. Yeah.
Like the Dark Souls type, and what was the new one that came out?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Have you played that one?
I did play through Elden Ring.
Yeah. Because Yaiser, you said that's probably one of your favorite games of all time.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, I still think I like Dark Souls 3 better, but.
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed Elden Ring. I put like 80 plus hours into it to get through it, but I mainlined it pretty much. I did not. It was a very cool open world. I don't think I'll ever go back to it, to be honest with you. It's that big and it's a lot of game there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's daunting, right? Because even just looking at it, I'm like, that looks like a really, really fun game. It looks like way too much for me to handle, to be honest.
Daunting's a good word for it, for sure.
Yeah. Have you played Breath of the Wild?
Yeah. I have like 120 hours in Breath of the Wild.
Nice. Yeah.
That was one.
Playing that one, but I didn't get to finish it.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
So what'd you think of it? Just too big, too much?
It's fun, but yeah, it's one of those things that where games like that where it's a big open world, like story kind of driven. If I get to the point where I can't pick up the game for about a week or so, and then I end up going back to it, I'm like, I don't remember where I was, and then I end up like lose focus, I guess, because I'm like, I don't remember what I was doing. I don't remember like the next thing I was supposed to be doing, and then it kind of just kills my motivation to play the game. So I usually stick to platformers because it's like, oh, Mario's still at this level, so I must be at that level, and then I just beat that level. How do you beat the level? You run right. That's pretty much it.
Run and jump.
Yeah, I have to say, prior to Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild was the last open world game that did exploration well enough to where I wanted to play it like every free moment I had. So yeah, I just devoured it.
Nice.
And I guess as far as like open world games go, like Turok kind of is that. You know?
Yeah, it is.
I was a little surprised like how open world it is. It's not really linear at all. But yeah, I mean, so that's the game we played this week. Turok Dinosaur Hunter for N64. And I gotta ask, round table, I guess, Yaiser, you can start first. Did you have any prior experience with this game?
No, I don't think I've even heard of it before.
Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, actually, it's one of the first games I owned for the Nintendo 64 back in like the late 90s. And I remember being wowed visually. It was impressive at the time. And I won't give too much away as to how I feel about that now, but I remember it at the time being extremely difficult and having a tough time advancing in it. I was also like a dumb kid at the time, so like, what did I know about playing video games? But yeah, it was I did enjoy it. I never beat it when I was younger without using cheat codes. I remember distinctly using cheats to like get to the final boss and defeat him, but never organically made it all the way through.
Yeah, I can imagine this one would be really tough, especially back in the day, like unless you had like a strategy guide for it, or I don't know if they had a strategy guide for this game, but you know, maybe some tips and tricks in Nintendo Power or something like that. But I played very little of this game when I was a kid. I believe the only time I ever played it was when I went to like a video game store and played it in like an N64 kiosk. I never owned it, and I didn't know anybody who did. So yeah, so my experience was very little with this game. But Ryan, did you remember enjoying it as a child?
Yeah, but I also I still am very much, you know, I know a lot of people who like critique games, and I know the point is what we're going to be doing is critiquing this game. Right. I have a hard time doing that sometimes because I just enjoy video games.
Right, just in general, yeah.
Yeah, so at the time it was like, hey, this is a new game I haven't experienced yet. So yeah, I definitely had a good time with it. It was something new. It was something fresh, you know?
For sure. How many hours did you put into it this week, Ryan?
I did not put in too many, about 4.5. Okay. Yeah, enough to make an impression. Tell you
for sure. You put in more than I did. I put in about 2.5. Yaiser, what about you?
Probably a little less than 2.
Yeah.
And
obviously with that, like those amount of hours, obviously none of us beat it.
No.
Right. But yeah, let's get right into the ratings. Yaiser, do you want to kick it off with story, or should I actually let me read a little bit of the story first? Because Ryan, did you know what the story was of this game?
Yeah, I pulled up the instruction manual because I know you do. So I was like, oh, I got to be on the same page here. So I did look up the story manual and read up on the lore.
Yeah, right. Did you know that this game series is based off of comic books?
Yeah, I did. I think I remember that being a big selling point at the time, or at least it was kind of like the buzz at the time when, you know, magazines were writing it up and things like that. It was like, oh, like the Turok comic. And I do remember the comic book gaining some popularity when the game was released as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I had no idea. I've only known Turok as a video game. But yeah, so the evil overlord known as the Campaigner seeks to shred the fabric of time and rule the universe using an ancient artifact known as the Chronoscepter. So the Chronoscepter was shattered thousands of years ago, and basically Turok is now going through the Lost Land to find the 8 pieces of the Chronoscepter, put it together, and then defeat the Campaigner. And the Campaigner is throwing everything at you. He's throwing velociraptors and aliens and all other kinds of
I didn't see aliens.
Beasts. Yeah, you get to aliens eventually.
Cool.
So I didn't get to play that far into the game, obviously, only a couple hours, but I did watch a bunch of playthroughs because I did want to see, you know, what the end looks like and that kind of deal. So I always try to figure that stuff out. But Yaiser, what did you think of the story?
I think it's pretty cool from what I heard from you. I gave it a 4. It sounds really cool. I wish I could have played through more of it, but
right,
stuff happens.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm interested to hear what you think, because now I feel a little harsh. I gave it a 2.5. It's cool, right? And the concept is super cool. You're like a time traveling Native American with like you said, dinosaurs and aliens, and
right.
It's just it's kind of just like gobbledygook. Like the story's like insert MacGuffin here, like bad guy wants this thing and you have to stop him from getting the thing. It's like a very cut and dry story, right? Like it's
I see your point.
So I gave it half value, 2.5, right? Because the concept really cool. If we were going off concept alone, it probably would get a 4 or a 4.5, but I just feel like they could have done more with that concept than like, here's the bad guy trying to obtain the thing you're trying to stop. That's like every 80s cartoon ever, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3. So I'm right there ish. I did think it was a pretty interesting concept. I think the fact that it's based off a comic book series, I think kind of raises the value a little bit to me, because that makes me curious to see all the other Turok games and how that, like, do they all use chapters from like the comic book series, or like how does that work exactly? In the manual for this game, it says it only uses one chapter from the comic book series. So I would like to think that's like Turok 2 and Turok 3 and maybe even like Rage Wars or whatever, like, are those all also about the comic? So whenever a game like makes me interested enough to look up more about it, I feel like the story goes up a little bit for me. But yeah, it is a little bland where it's kind of insert character name here and insert character name there, and it's kind of the same objective. And I guess this part kind of goes along with gameplay, but sort of with story also. Dinosaur Hunter gives you this, like, Turok Dinosaur Hunter gives you this idea that you are specifically going out to hunt dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And that's not really the case at all. They could have called it Alien Hunter or Man Hunter, like, because you kill just as many of those things.
Right. Turok in time.
Yeah, right. Like something like that, something more TMNT based. But yeah, the first boss in this game is a Jeep. In like level 3, like you fight a Jeep, and then like when you kill the Jeep, like the guy comes out. And so like I didn't play through the entire game and I didn't see every single boss, but from the bosses I've seen, I didn't see any dinosaurs as like the bosses. So I thought it's just weird that the like Turok series is just known so much for dinosaurs, and they seem to be kind of like a bit part in the whole series. Like the main boss isn't a dinosaur. You're not a dinosaur. You
Even
just kind of encounter them.
Right. That early part of the game, you like see velociraptors, but other than that, it's people. It's like these weird creatures who jump at you in caves, and then it's like big gorilla looking things that attack you. And that's it. Right. There's like one dinosaur out of 4 or 5 different enemy types, right?
Yeah, it is a little weird.
Yeah.
And then even like your objective in the game, it's not about killing anything. Like it's not about hunting anything. It's about finding the keys to go to the next level.
Yeah.
I do think that maybe it's because, so I looked up a little bit of background info on like the development of the game, and early development, this game was going to be a 3D platformer, like much like Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, that kind of thing. So that explains like why you're collecting, floating triangles, and the triangles, when you get 100 of them, you get a free guy. And then you collect keys to go to the next level, whatever. So, and there is actually a lot of like platforming in this game, like jumping, trying to make all these jumps and stuff like that. So, you can definitely see the platforming elements in this game. However, it really is more just like it's not really as action adventure-y when it comes to like the story, like the objective, as like GoldenEye is, for example.
Right. I feel like some of it's the restriction of the hardware too. Like, you didn't get audio, you didn't get cutscenes, so it's really just like there's no storytelling as you're going through other than like, hey, you found a key, like a level 2 key, a level 3 key, and
Yeah.
there's really not a lot there when you're playing through it.
Right. Now that we're kind of transitioning to gameplay, Ryan, you want to kick it off for gameplay?
Sure. I'm actually, gosh, this is probably the one thing I'm the most conflicted on because it's not necessarily good, right? Like, but the game was not as difficult as I remember it being, but there's so much more platforming than I remember the game having. When I was younger, I didn't remember like there being this much platforming, and sometimes they do it right. Like sometimes they'll put those little floating triangles on a platform so you know when you have to like stop pushing forward, right? Your momentum would carry you off of it. As soon as you hear that like sound effect they have for the triangle, you could, oh, okay, I'm on the platform. Like I'll stop moving. But many times they don't. It's just like you got to guess when the thing's kind of under you. It doesn't control the best.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of how I was playing. I was playing on an emulator, but man, looking up and aiming was like impossible for me. Anytime someone's above you, it was like you can't aim precisely whatsoever. All that being said, I kept wanting to play more. So, real quick, I gave it a 3.
Okay.
Because yes, I kept wanting to play more, but there are those shortcomings. It doesn't do platforming well, and I can't really think of like a first-person shooter that did platforming well prior to Metroid Prime. This doesn't do that well, and it happens to have that occur a lot in the game. The worst knock against it for me was like you were saying earlier in the episode, the open world aspect, and it has a terrible map. It's like, hey, just go get lost. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, hey, go get lost and figure out if you've actually been there before.
Yep.
And yeah, it's not very good to navigate the world and find out where you are or where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. So I guess just branching off of the map there, because I had something interesting to say about the map also. I believe Silent Hill came out after this game. So just putting that out there. But Silent Hill's map system is fantastic. It's so good. And so for a game that isn't linear like that, you do need some sort of markings on the map to let you know that you've already been there or that you couldn't get into that area for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell the difference between terrain that was higher than you, terrain that was lower than you. It was really, really tough. I did, however, keep my map always on. I don't know how you guys felt about that.
Same. Yeah. It helped me with aiming.
Yeah. The cursor.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I kept mine on too, because the cursor's in the middle of the screen. So it helped me with aiming.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I did not keep my map on.
Yeah.
I wanted to soak in all those glorious visuals.
Yeah. So I kept my map on the entire time just because it gave me like a crosshair.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have one before that, which in my opinion is one of the worst aspects about the gameplay is that there was no crosshair, so it made what was already a hard game to aim in next to impossible because I had no idea where I was even trying to shoot half the time. All that being said, the controls in the game are awful in my opinion. I had a really, really hard time with the inverted controls, and also the fact that so first person shooters now that we're used to, the left stick is usually used for movement and then the right stick is usually used for looking around. This game is flipped, right? So like the C stick was used, or the C buttons, right, were used for movement, and then the stick was used for looking around.
Yeah.
So I was able to adjust that on my emulator. That's probably why I'm higher on it. I mean, I don't know your score yet, but I was able to make it exactly how I wanted it.
Yeah, so I ended up doing that, and I ended up actually plugging in an Xbox 360 controller and using the joysticks.
Yeah.
It's a bit cheating, I know. But to be fair, I left the gameplay pretty low because I did use an N64 controller initially to play it, and I had to quickly sub it out because there was no shot I was playing more than 15 minutes with it like that. Yeah, there you go.
That's what I played on too.
Yep.
So I cheated.
I gave the gameplay a 2.5, and it killed me to give it that low because I felt like this game had a ton of things to offer in terms of like all the different weapons, I felt like the actual gameplay of like kind of mixing a platformer with a first person shooter was pretty interesting to me. However, just the controls killed it. The controls killed the game for me. There's so what they released a new like HD remake of it, I believe, for like the Switch and like some newer platforms, and also the I believe it's on Steam. I would 100% recommend like going out and trying that.
Yeah,
because I think
kind of want to.
Yeah, because I think the game, for what it's worth, has a lot to offer. It's just the controls, I can't get past it. I can't play it. So it was hard for me to give gameplay a high score when I couldn't really play the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it a 2.5. What about you, Yaiser?
Yeah, I'm right there with you at 2.5. It's mainly just the controls that brought it down. You do kind of get used to it after a while. At least I did, anyways.
Yeah.
What really helped me a lot is I turned down the sensitivity of like the vertical up and down.
Yeah.
I turned that way down.
Which, by the way, that's an awesome addition that they have that in the menu.
Yeah, I turned it almost all the way down, and it helped a lot.
Didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah, no,
you guys with your
super
maps
helpful.
and your I was missing out.
But yeah, it was. Other than that, man, I really feel like this game could have been, I don't know, super fun. And I don't know, it sucks. It sucks that the controls are so bad. But a couple of other things that were really annoying about the gameplay were trying to shoot those little beetles.
Yeah.
In the fucking caves. They're so fast and they're so low. It was such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, you'd run around killing all these dinosaurs and all these dudes, and then like you just hear the respawn sound going off over and over and over, and it's like, fuck, I just killed fucking 10 goddamn dinosaurs and now they're all back alive again. And like you don't get like a ton of ammo in this game.
Right.
So that was really annoying for me. But
and when you kill them, it's not like you get something super beneficial. I mean, you get like 2 health. Yeah. Something like
Sick.
That. Yeah. So the risk versus reward isn't really there.
Right. No, that was
with
kind
like
of annoying.
Yeah, like backtracking through a level or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the game doesn't really tell you like where the keys are. It's just a nonstop hide and seek of finding keys.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a little frustrating at times,
because it gets like crazy too. It's like, oh, here's a portal that's going to take you to another place, and there's a key in that place, but then you're like, wait, where am I now, and how do I get back to where I was, and was there something over there that I missed? And it's just it tosses you around this map too.
Yep.
It's really good at getting you lost.
One more thing I'll say about the gameplay is I think it's really cool that there's a cheat menu just built into the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can just fire up any cheat kind of that you want to do, including the obvious, every single game had this back in the 90s, the big head mode. Every single game had big head mode, I feel like. Like from GoldenEye to NFL Blitz or whatever, like every game had it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool feature.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of pains me to give it a 2.5, because I feel like there's so much potential here and just the controls kind of kill it. That's why I'm actually like very interested in going to try the Steam version, like the new HD remake. Because like I said, I think it has a ton of potential.
I didn't even know that existed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they came out with like a physical release for like the Switch and stuff like that too. Like limited run games did. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I think it's important to know. I know like how we rank it, how it aged is later. Like this was a early stepping stone for FPS as a genre. So a lot of the stuff that we're like, oh, it didn't do like it, pulling up the map just so you have a cursor and things like that. It crawled so other games can run, right?
True story.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. The next category, I give it a little bit better ratings because for the time they were really, really good. But I'm
not like defending the game. I think everybody's been really fair up to this point for sure. Like those guys in the caves, I just pulled out my knife because I couldn't hit them with a gun.
Oh, smart.
Right. Because even GoldenEye, I don't think had a cursor unless you hit R to like lock on and move it around. If you were just basically hip firing that entire game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a pretty common thing back then that cursors didn't exist, but we play first person shooters now, and it's obvious that there's going to be a cursor on the screen. But
where's my red dot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, just pull up your map and it works just fine. You are right here, and that's where your bullets go.
It's pretty cool.
Yaiser, you want to start off for visuals?
Yeah, sure. I thought it was pretty good. Especially for what 1999 it was released.
Somewhere around there.
I think that's what you said.
I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna give it 3.5.
Okay, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that just like blew my mind, but the map looked terrible, like you guys were saying earlier.
Yeah,
and God forbid if you're like layered on the map, who knows what fucking layer you're on, but
yeah.
But yeah, I thought other than that it looked pretty good.
Yeah, it's tough. Ryan?
I'm glad you guys bring that up with the verticality, because there is a lot, and it should tell you that sort of thing. Like, just tell me where I am on the map. Jesus Christ, you had one job, dude.
100%.
It was 97. I just looked it up. I'm not
okay.
acting like I know that. I just Googled it.
That's cool.
So for visuals, I gave it a 4. I know this is the era of like fog and limits to draw distance, but the fog in this game is actually really cool, and it's done extremely well right off the bat. As soon as you start, there's like that monkey in the fog that you see, right? And as you get closer, it just sets the atmosphere for the game. You get to the point where you're seeing things moving in the fog, and you kind of approach cautiously because you don't know if it's a velociraptor or if it's a monkey or if it's a pig. It could like really benefit you if it's the pig, but you don't want to walk into a room full of velociraptors. So I thought that was actually used to this game's benefit. And the most impressive thing were the animations. When you consider it was 1997 and you have all these different kill animations, and I thought that was so cool. It was still great to watch, like when dudes grasp at their throat and they're like stammering over, as you shoot them. And there was a lot of variety to that in a time when games just didn't have that sort of thing. I mean, I never really saw people die in the same way, or if it did happen, it didn't happen often enough to where I noticed it, right? And that's super neat. So yeah, I think visuals still stood up really well. Like I was engaged the whole time. It has a lot of flat surfaces with no textures on them, but that's like just a product of the time it came out.
Yeah,
I think it did a really impressive job for the tools it had at its disposal.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was so close to giving it a 4-star. So close. I ended up going with 3.5. And what knocked it down from 4 to 3.5 for me was, and I understand it's like Turok, like Dinosaur Hunter, like you're in jungles and stuff, but the same level, really, kind of over and over. Like it's the same environment in multiple levels. I believe there's 8 total levels, and I think in maybe only 1 or 2 of them, it's not the same generic jungle type of map. And that is kind of where I knocked it down a little bit. The fog didn't bother me that bad because, and I'm going to reference Silent Hill again, I guess, because it works in Silent Hill. And I think it works in this game too. It's not oh, you can't see what's off in the distance because we can't process it. It's like, it makes sense that in the jungle, it would be foggy. It makes sense that in Silent Hill, like, while it's like snowing, like it would be foggy. Like, so they make it make sense. You know what I mean? Where, other games you could tell they just did it for limitations, whereas this one probably for the same reason, but at least it makes sense in the context for the game. So that didn't bother me at all. Ryan, you brought up a great point about the animations. I definitely wanted to talk about those. And for certain bosses, actually, you have different death animations as well, specific to that boss, which I thought was really cool. You have a certain death animation like when you drowned, as opposed to, if you're just shot or stabbed or whatever, or killed by a dinosaur. So I think that they have really cool death animations. I thought even like when you shot like one of those humans, like the way that like they jump up, turn around, spin, and land on the ground, and all the blood comes out, like
like
you know what I mean? Like they did a pretty good job with the animation back then. So
definitely,
yeah, visuals. I was really impressed with the visuals for this game, even because N64 is that era where it's like blocky, stretched face looking, like almost notoriously like ages very poorly. I don't think that was the case in this game.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you.
As for the sound though, I wasn't a huge fan of the sound. I I'm big on like soundtrack, right? Like music. This game didn't have a ton of that. It was a lot of like just sound effects and just jungle noises and stuff like that.
Right.
Which is fine. Whatever. Again, it kind of does what it needs to do for the game, but whenever I end up muting a game, it's usually not gonna be great.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. Maybe it's a little harsh, but I felt that, you know, it could have been a little bit better. It's an action adventure game where I'm supposed to be gunning down dinosaurs. Like they could have hit me with a little bit of you know, music to kind of keep me going there. But yeah, sound was nothing too crazy in my opinion. Ryan?
I'm actually going to give it a 2.5. I thought the percussion was kind of cool. It is not varied. I mean, you bring up a very good point with that. The sound track itself is not varied, but I actually liked the sound effects, like the tiger roar in there, and you know, it made it feel like mysterious, similar to the fog. It made it feel like, oh, okay, I'm in a jungle. And maybe I'm just thinking back to when I was a kid too, you know, hearing it now, I'm like, God, there's that tiger roar again. So I could definitely see why you'd give it a lower score than this. But yeah, I thought the ambient jungle sounds were kind of neat for creating that atmosphere, just kind of to keep the tension up, right? It wasn't it felt dangerous. It felt like you were in a dangerous place because of those sound effects. Yeah, and just cool audio when you shoot people, you know, different noises coming out of them, a lot of gurgling, like gurgling blood when you killed dinosaurs and things like that. It was neat.
Yeah. The sound effects that they had weren't bad by any means. I just felt that they could have definitely added a little something to it to kind of spice it up a little bit. What about you, Yaiser?
Yeah, probably. I'm at 2.5 too. I'm right there with you.
Okay.
I kind of dug the ambient jungle noises. Although every time that cat would growl, I always expected to like run into a tiger at some point. But
you just hear it in the distance and never see it.
Huh? It never came.
I know. I was wondering, like, do they want the player to think that was like a noise a velociraptor makes or something? They use it so much. It's like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't really know.
That's why I was just so confused by the title. Like, I really felt like they could have just went with Turok, but why they went with Turok Dinosaur Hunter? Is that to draw in like kids, like hunting dinosaurs? Like that sounds like a fun thing.
It was the 90's, man. Jurassic Park, like dinosaurs were big.
Was it the comic title?
Yeah, did it have anything to do with the comic?
I think that is the comic book title, is Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Maybe there were more dinosaurs in the comic.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I've never really been a comic guy. Yaiser?
I was going to ask that. Yeah, I was going to ask that. Not really. Neither one of you? No.
I read the funnies in the newspaper every once in a while when I was little.
Big comic book guy.
You are?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what are you, like some of your favorites? Are you DC, a Marvel guy? Or?
I grew up a Marvel guy. I do appreciate DC. I don't really have like a dog in the race. I just tend to read Marvel more.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Captain America is my favorite superhero. I have a Captain America tattoo.
That's cool. It's cool because it's like different. Like I feel like you don't hear a lot of people say like Captain America is like their favorite. I feel like it's always like Batman, Spider-Man, or Superman or something like that.
Yeah.
So
people like the edgy guy. Oh, yeah, Deadpool, right? See, people like the edgy guy.
Yeah. My favorite's Deadpool just because of the movies, and the movies are hilarious.
They're so good.
Super funny for sure. No, it's just like Captain America always does like the moral good, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I aspire to do the moral good, and I'm only human.
Yeah, see, I mean, I'm just somebody who doesn't take himself too seriously, which I think is why I align more with Deadpool.
Oh, for sure. I get that.
That movie is like the epitome of like just doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
Which I think is another reason why Earthbound is probably one of my favorite games, because it's like the only RPG that just doesn't take itself very seriously.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, so I don't know how we transition from that to aged, but hey, how do you feel like this game is aged, Ryan?
About as well as Deadpool. No, I'm kidding. Actually, yeah, about as well as Deadpool, because I'm going to give it a 4.
Oh,
here's the bottom line, right? There are a lot of things in this game that don't fit with what we expect from a modern game. So I totally understand a low score for how well it aged.
Mm-hmm.
But even how like janky it looked, and how there wasn't varied environments, and how it was difficult to aim vertically, and all these like little nitpicks, I kept wanting to play it. Like I said, I put like 4.5 hours in. Like I didn't want to stop playing this. And I have, a room away, all these new flashy games I could have been playing if I just put this controller down, but like I was engaged enough to keep going and seeing what I could find, if I could get more keys, what was next, what I'd run into next. And I mean, to me, that's the mark of it aging well. I wanted to keep playing it. I'll probably pick up that HD version, no joke, because I enjoyed revisiting this game so much that I do want to see more of it. And I think that's why I'm going to give it a 4. I think it aged well. I wanted to play it.
I really appreciate that input. And it's interesting too, because you played it while you were a kid, right? So you could technically go back and be like, what was I thinking? But the fact that you wanted to keep playing it is a testament to how well you feel it aged.
Yeah. So I could tell you're going to disagree with me, because the response is, I appreciate that input. That's always like a sign when somebody's going to say, like, I appreciate that input.
Well, no, I mean,
no, I'm just kidding.
I am going to disagree with you, but it's really only based off the controls to me. The controls absolutely kill this game to me, which, again, I urge people to not play this game, but go play the HD version, because I think that they probably, I haven't played it yet, but I think that they probably fixed the control issue, and they make it a little bit, and they make it a little more, right?
Yeah, right.
They're like, oh no, it's actually still inverted, and the joysticks are wrong.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing. Just to reiterate, like I edited all that, so I was initially from the get-go playing exactly how I would play a modern day shooter. So
yeah. Which again, I changed to that, so I can that's why I'm urging people to. If our review seems a little sour here, go play the HD version, because I think this game has a ton to offer. However, I'm giving aged only a 1 because of how bad the controls are.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like when I was playing with an N64 controller, I couldn't get past like 10 minutes of it. I couldn't. The moving and like looking around. That first bridge, do you know how many times I fell off that bridge just trying to get across it? Again, maybe it's my stupid mind. I don't know. I couldn't get past it. And I had to give it a bad score for that, because it didn't become playable until I hooked up my Xbox controller and was able to use 2 joysticks. And GoldenEye is a great game. I think when we eventually get to that game, I'm going to give it great scores and a ton of things. Not aged, because I remember how awkward those controls can be. So, and it's just like last week we played Columns 3, right? Gameplay, it's a fun game. Story, it doesn't have a story, so I gave it a 1. You know what I mean? So just because I'm giving aged a 1 doesn't necessarily make this a terrible game. I just feel like because of the controls, it has aged so poorly. But I guess what I'm saying is go out and play the HD version, because it's still a testament to how well the actual game, like, and what it was supposed to be, like, holds up. And that's probably how you played it when you were a kid, without knowing about like dual joysticks, and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we're spoiled now because we can look back and see how bad it used to be. So
I mean, I gotta say, if I weren't, I guess I kind of cheated, right, by adjusting the controller, because I did have about 10 seconds of fumbling around with the standard controls, and I literally I couldn't move straight, and I couldn't do anything. So if I had tried playing without adjusting the controller to what I'm used to, I probably would give it a 1. My entire playthrough would have lasted maybe 30 minutes, and I would have given up. So it's hard to argue that.
It was very frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I sat down next to my wife, and I had it I had it all set up. I'm like, all right, here we go. And I'm just like looking around. And I'm like, how do I move? And I'm like, oh, C is how you move. So I'm like moving around with the buttons. And then I'm trying to like look at like the dinosaur that just flew by me. And I'm like, where did he go? Oh, he's attacking me. From where? Like, I was having such a difficult time. Couldn't, like I said, could barely get across that initial bridge. And once I landed in the water, I'm like, all right, how do I get out of here? Like, the 15 minutes of me being aggravated was just me trying to get out of that water. I don't know. It was rough. Yaiser, you didn't change it, right?
I didn't change it at all.
You played on an N64 controller and you didn't change.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see your gameplay.
That's incredible. That's an achievement.
So I ran through the tutorial at first, and I think that really helped me with the controls.
Yeah, I did not.
turning down the vertical sensitivity really helped also.
Mhm.
I did sort of get used to it, but they're still awful. It's still bad. I'm going to give it 2.5.
Okay.
We're
all over the place on this. I love it.
Yeah.
It's probably the most, like, I don't know the word, but
Varied.
That's the word. Varied scores here. But yeah, I feel like I do want to check out the HD version. I would love to play a handheld on my Switch, sitting on my couch. Those are my favorite games to play. If I can just sit on my couch, watch TV, and play a game at the same time,
You might be able to
I'm down for
download
that.
it for the Switch.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably look it up, see if I can, because I feel like this game has a lot of potential, and just these controls, like you were saying, man, really the only thing that really weighed it down for me, and that aged it pretty poorly.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, but yeah, I do think that it has a ton of potential. So, if you guys are interested in playing it, definitely grab the HD version and check that one out.
I think it's important we recognize how impressive it is that Yaiser played 2.5 hours with like the standard controls. That's super impressive, dude.
Yeah,
In this day and age,
all that platforming.
Yeah,
Yaiser
I would not be able
hates
to do
platforming.
I do, but I don't know. It was like easy in this, easier than like the medieval platforming was just horrendous.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's actually a good point. Not that we really got to it, but the camera in this actually isn't terrible.
No, it's not bad.
It's just controlling your guy. You know what I mean?
Which I guess is the same thing, really.
Yeah, but once I switched to dual joysticks, it was a lot easier.
Yeah, I bet.
And slowed down the sensitivity.
Yeah.
This game was ahead of its time for a lot of things. That's why it almost seems like a slap in the face to age it poorly, because it was ahead of its time. Mm-hmm. But it's also, the controls are just so garbage that I can't get past it. So as far as final scores go, I was the lowest at 2.4, and then Yaiser was next at a 3, and then Ryan was at a 3.2. So I mean, we're all right around the same area with it.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's Turok, I guess. I mean, would you, Yaiser, recommend that somebody go relive this game?
If you can emulate it and set up a dual stick controller, I definitely think you should. I wish I did that. I wish I thought to do that before it was a little too late.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'd echo that in its entirety. Like, yeah, make it to where you can play the game and enjoy it, and you will enjoy it. You'll probably have a good time with it.
Yeah, and there are probably some people out there that are so used to the N64 controller, which really the only N64 game I play on the reg is, Mario Kart 64.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so
you're okay at that.
Yeah, I'm all right at that. So other than that, I barely ever play the N64. So maybe that's why I had such a hard time with the controls in this game in general. But 100% go check out the HD version, because I think, like I said 1,000 times, this game has a ton to offer, and I think its potential is definitely there to be a really good game. I mean, they made a HD remake of it for a reason, right? So
for sure.
So I'd definitely go check that out.
I'm gonna check it out, and
you'll let me know.
I'll report it.
Cool. Sounds good. I want to hear about it. This is the part of the show where we randomize the next game, and I give a brief description of the game, and I like to see if the guest can guess the game. So, just to put you on the spot, Ryan.
No, it's all right.
That's how
it's
we're
not that bad. It's not like a 10-question quiz.
Right. All right. So I'm going to hit that randomizer now. All right. This is a action adventure game released in 2006 for the PlayStation 2, developed by Rockstar.
Okay, do I get guesses here?
You can get guesses, yeah.
You said
is it a Grand Theft Auto game?
It's not a Grand Theft Auto game.
2006 by Rockstar.
Yep.
I know they had State of Emergency, but it's not that. That seems too late for State of Emergency.
Yeah, it's not State of Emergency.
Dude.
It's also been released for
the Revolver?
No.
No, I don't know.
Bully.
Oh, Bully. Cool.
Yeah. very excited to play this one. I played it a little bit as a kid. I don't remember like how far I got or exactly how long. I know I had the game. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun because when I was a kid, it was basically like, oh, this is just a kid's version of Grand Theft Auto, like because you're just a kid in a school, and that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited to play this game. We have a guest next week. Also, it is Liv from Between Two Gamers. She will be joining us to talk about Bully. And before we go, Ryan, we always have the guest kind of recommend a game to us from before the PS3, Wii, Xbox 360 generation, just to kind of throw onto our master list. And if you want to throw out like a suggestion or two to add to our list, and we'd certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll definitely throw out a suggestion. It's a fighting game for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Both ports are extremely different. It is called Weapon Lord.
Okay, cool.
You say cool. You say cool now.
I have heard of it. I've never played it.
Yeah.
Is it not fun?
It has an odd like system on how to do the attacks and combos, but
cool.
But it's actually like well regarded in the fighting game circle.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool.
Which port would you recommend we play? The Genesis or the Super Nintendo?
I personally have more experience with the Genesis version, but I don't really have a hard recommendation on either one. Maybe whichever the internet says is best.
We're gonna trust the internet. I mean,
no.
Good luck.
Right. But yeah, so yeah, we will for sure add that to our master list. So our Patreon episode is coming up, episode 12. It'll be the season 2 finale. Getting a bit ahead of myself there.
A little bit.
$5 a month to join the Patreon, help out there, and you can get your game into a much smaller pool of games to pick from, rather than our master list, which is a couple hundred games long at this point. So the Patreon pool is much smaller, like less than 10 games. So your game is, a lot higher chances of being picked there. Also, if you join the Patreon before the next episode drops next Monday, whatever date that is, then you will be put into the giveaway for one of the games that we've played so far this season. And we've played some pretty good games. Just to list a few here: Link to the Past, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, Super Mario Land 2, Silent Hill, Turtles in Time, SSX Tricky, Turok if you want that game. And then we have Bully coming up. So, one of our patrons will win one of those games. So if you want to be in that giveaway, then go ahead and join the Patreon. And Ryan, tell everybody where they can find you one last time.
Sure. Yeah, we're everywhere, all over the place at List Off Podcast. Except I think on Twitter we're actually _podcast. But yeah, we're available wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere really. Just go ahead and search for List Off Podcast, and it's List Off Podcast with Brian and Ryan. Speaking of Brian, he probably would have stuck with the standard controls. He's like a big inverted guy. It's an argument we have constantly on the show.
Oh, jeez,
He probably would have like been in his environment with Turok. No joke.
Yeah, I can't do the inverted. It drives me nuts. But hey, to each their own, right?
Same, man.
So does he switch to everything to inverted? Like if he's playing Call of Duty, he switches it to inverted?
Yeah, he came and visited me once, and it was about the time Ratchet and Clank Ripped Apart came out, and he switched to inverted, and I distinctively remember going back to the game and being like, "What the hell is this shit?" Like it was terrible, man. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's rough. Like Yaiser said, what a psycho.
Yeah, seriously, no, it is. It's true.
All right, guys, that's gonna be it from us for this week. Shoot us some comments, which games you want us to add to our master list, and if you've ever played Turok before, were we a little harsh on it? Be fair, and let us know how the HD version is. So thank you very much, Ryan, for coming on. everybody, please go over and check out the podcast. And
I want to say thanks for having me, guys. Like before we sign off, definitely. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Anytime you want to come back, season 3, you can come back. Season 3, maybe both you guys can come back. We can get 4 people on here. That'd be cool. Sure. Yeah. So thank you guys again, and we will see you next week with Bully.
Peace.
See ya.
Bye.